We think of social media, we think of filters, pictures, dreamy vacation shots. We also think of the power social media has to bring people together and, of course, to spread a message. There is a way to use social media for social good. Influencer Amelie Zilber is using her platform not only for her modeling career, but also to spread political awareness. As her bio says, quote, "Here to help you know your world." She helps her 7 million TikTok followers and 2.5 million Instagram followers stay up to date on events from what's happening in Afghanistan to debunking COVID-19 vaccine myths. Here to talk about her career, her activism, and her TikTok, the one and only Amelie Zilber. Amelie, thank you so much for taking the time. It is great to have you here on the show. So I'd like to walk back a little bit here for our viewers who are familiar with your content but may not actually know where your passion for activism first really began. Where did that passion begin?
So it started young. The seeds of activism were planted in me very young. In my household, conversations about politics and current affairs were mainstream dinner table conversations. So when I was in elementary school, I was always having these dinner conversations that I felt like I couldn't contribute to about politics. So when I was about 12 years old, I took the initiative to teach myself about politics. And I started reaching out to friends, and they weren't really able to give me the understanding of world news that I thought I was going to get from my other sixth grade friends. So I went and did some research on my own and realized that politics was very special to me and something that I could really enjoy learning. And from there, I went in to create a platform called the 2-Minute Times, where I basically took the idea that my friends didn't know what was going on and I didn't know what was going on. So I took the top headlines of the week, summarized each headline in 3 to 5 sentences for 12-year-olds at the time, and sent it out every Sunday. I ended up doing that for the next 6 years of my life. And I would just summarize the headlines for young people. So my love for politics started really young, and it will probably carry with me for the rest of my life.
Well, thank you for doing the work that you are. I like to use the phrase a more informed citizenry, which is basically, it's just the spirit of having people know what they're talking about. And you are a big force of that. And so thank you for contributing your talents through the lens of being a force for good on that. You've worked with the White House here. We know that the Joe Biden administration has been keen to bring in a lot of TikTok influencers as of late to try and encourage these conversations. What has that looked like for you? And what are your thoughts to have a president of the United States who is willing to at least try to go to specifically younger viewers where they are?
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing to notice, that politics is all about meeting young people where they are. And the White House is doing a phenomenal job at that. I think that for me, it's been an incredible experience being able to work with the White House because I'm so political and politics has been such a piece of my life for the longest time. Being able to work with the White House is such an incredible thing to be able to say. And I think that we should be giving them all the credits because meeting young people where they are is the only way that young people will pay attention. That's what I've learned from the work that I've been doing. So yeah.
And so remind me, if I'm not mistaken, I believe there was a social media focused press conference of sorts with White House Press Secretary Jensaki here in Washington. What did you ask Jen? What was your conversation like?
So my conversation with Jen was about the American Jobs Plan and American Family Plan. And I spoke to her about the new Biden plan for 2 years of free healthcare and the child tax credit. So my conversation with her was really informative and something that I was really passionate about as a college student myself, who has a bunch of friends who are struggling to pay off their college debt. And it's just it's a topic that's at the front of the mind for a lot of young people. So I felt very lucky to be able to have that conversation with someone from the White House and be able to share that knowledge with my audience.
Amelie, what sorts of issues, topics, questions does your audience want to hear about? Are you regularly fielding questions that say, hey, can you do an explainer on so-and-so? Or, can you ask the president that sort of question? I'm really interested to know. I'm sure they are perceptive to the headlines as well, but you're really the one who's helping them better understand it.
So a lot of my followers are international. So a lot of the time my followers ask me to speak on international issues, which is great for me because it inspires me to dig deeper onto international world news that I wouldn't otherwise um, take the opportunity to research because it wouldn't have been caught in my attention. A lot of the times mainstream media focuses on domestic issues or only international issues if they're really pressing or of the moment. So they reach out to me and they're like, I'm from Cuba. Can you please talk about the situation in Cuba or talk about the situation in Brazil or Venezuela or whatnot? And it allows me the opportunity to educate myself and then take that education and spread it to my followers. And when it comes to domestic news, sadly enough, people don't often ask me to talk about domestic news, but I think that that's super important to talk about. A lot of the times domestic news has to do with bills or policy or legislation that a lot of young people don't really feel the need to educate themselves on. But with my little 1-minute explanatory videos, I think it's a great way for a young person to pay attention, know what's going on without having to, feel the need to read a 10-minute article if they're not inspired to do so. So it's educating them without it feeling like a burden.
Absolutely. Amelie, to be fair, there's also a lot of adults in this country who can never be bothered with a 5-minute article to read. And so they're also looking for digestible content. So you do an amazing job with it. One last question here for you. Let's have a little bit of fun here. Talk to me about TikTok as an overall phenomenon, which of course has exploded during the pandemic. Everyone was at home. There's this flashy app. Everyone's on it. What are your favorite TikTok trends? Who are some of your favorites? And millions of people around the world come to you for content, but where does Amelie go for her content on TikTok? What are you a fan of?
So TikTok is a really special place. It's obviously the space that allowed me to become the political influencer type person that I am today. So I have a lot of gratitude towards TikTok. I think there's a lot of funny content on TikTok, but the content that I've been loving recently is therapy talk. And it's basically where creators share nuggets of wisdom that they've learned from their therapy sessions. And I think it's amazing. First of all, they do it in a way that's comical. So it makes it feel like, healing trauma doesn't always have to be like horribly intense. It can be funny and it can be like healing doesn't have to be so horrible. So I've been loving therapy talk, and I think just TikTok can be a really creative space for people to identify themselves and find what they're interested in and meet others in their own communities as well. So yeah, I think TikTok is amazing.
TikTok is amazing, and so is therapy talk specifically. I'm right there with you. I go down a TikTok rabbit hole and I'm swiping. It's like, how did an hour go by? But you learn so much. It can be so self-enriching. Amelie Zilber, what a pleasure it is to meet you and have you on the show on this Friday night. Social media influencer, model, and political activist. Also friend of the Joe Biden White House. Pretty cool. Thanks for joining us here tonight.